Let's talk some buzz on some more top targets. Now, the next group of targets we're going to talk about, these guys are either committing in August or do not have decision dates set, but there is some rumors that it could happen soon. So let's start with at the top with offensive tackle David Sanders. He just made some big news this week, cutting his list down and setting a date. Tell us about it.
Well, we've been talking about David Sanders a lot, and I've been giving the inch to Ohio State in this recruitment coming out of his official visit June 21st, but he's still going through his process, working towards a decision. Nothing has been decided at this point, and would not be surprised if he took some visits in July to see some of his finalists one more time before making his decision in August, early in his senior season. So Tennessee and Ohio State have been the two programs that we have marked as the top contenders, but there's been a time where I thought Georgia has led. He's always had Georgia amongst his leaders. And then here's Nebraska, a program that wasn't even in his original top six, gets a Mother's Day weekend official visit. Now they're in the Final Four. And again, inch to Ohio State, certainly not sleeping on the Vols. We'll see what happens with Georgia and Nebraska over the last month of David Sanders' recruitment as he looks to find a place that can develop him as a player, a place that gives him an opportunity to be successful in the sports medicine, eventually be an orthopedic surgeon realm, and then just a place where he feels like he can fit in with the players and recruits. So those are kind of the boxes you have to check, and I like where Ohio State stands as I talk to you right now.
Yeah, I don't know what's more surprising to me. The fact that here we're talking about his final teams about a month before his decision and Clemson's not in it, or the fact that Nebraska worked all the way into that final group, and we'll see what happens in the end here. So
but we've kind of put Clemson in the back for a while.
Yeah.
So that wasn't going to end up being the right fit. Sometimes you grow up rooting for a program, but then when you go through this process and the things that you're looking for from a school, Clemson obviously didn't touch all those boxes.
All right. Speaking of twists and turns, Jonah Williams, the five-star safety out of the state of Texas, his recruitment's had some twists and turns, and right now it looks like it's headed toward Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, talking to sources yesterday, I continue to feel like Oregon is a program that is really trending with Jonah Williams. I think that Texas A&M's that in-state program right now. It'll be interesting to see what kind of moves they try and make as Oregon has the momentum in this recruitment for Jonah Williams.
All right. Now let's talk about defensive lineman, five-star defensive lineman, Elijah Griffin. Is there anybody out there that has a chance to swipe him from Georgia?
Well, I know he's had a good time at USC, and then, Miami and other programs have done a good job of being exciting for him. But I think Georgia leads distant second, whoever you want to put in second place. So really like the way that's setting up for Georgia right now. But again, he's not taking anything for granted. He's going through his checks and balances on the recruiting trail. So we'll see what the fall brings, but Bulldogs look like the heavy favorites.
Up next, offensive tackle Ty Haywood out of the state of Texas. His recruitment seems like it's been heating up, but he has not set a decision date. Steve, what are we hearing in terms of when he could decide and who the finalists could be?
Well, I think he's in the process of trying to make his final decision right now and still lean heavily towards Alabama. Florida State is the dark horse in that recruitment. Oklahoma and Texas A&M seem to have faded. He's also shown some interest in UCLA, but Alabama has the momentum for one of the most coveted offensive linemen in the country.
Yeah, that would be another huge addition for the Tide. Speaking of big additions, they also hosted defensive lineman Justice Terry on an official visit the day after he decommitted from USC. Now, Justice Terry also being heavily pursued by Georgia, but do you think this could be a battle that Alabama can win?
No, I think it's a long road uphill for a lot of these other programs as they recruit against Georgia for Justice Terry. I think similar to Elijah Griffin, I think the Bulldogs are going to be tough to beat. Again, he's going through his process and continuing to have dialogue with other schools. We saw USC make a big move with him at one point, but I think Georgia is the heavy favorite for Justice Terry.
Man, that could be a historically good defensive line class for Georgia if these pieces fall into place. All right. Let's go back out to the state of Texas. Offensive tackle Michael Fusi. Now, we've been talking about Michael Fusi and the Longhorns since his sophomore year, and they've always kind of been the favorite, but no commitment. Is this another case where we kind of see Michael Fusi slip from the grasp of Texas, similarly how DeCorian Moore did?
Well, it's possible. I would give the inch or two to Texas right now, but as other offensive linemen come off the board, Lamont Rogers, whereas Oklahoma and Texas A&M see that they're not getting Ty Haywood, I think that makes the recruitment more interesting for Michael Fasusi as these programs come down the stretch for him and they make their final pitches to Michael Fasusi. We'll see if one of those things can change the trajectory of this recruitment late in his process.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about wide receiver Jamie French. Since we're talking about the Texas Longhorns, this is now the focus. Decorian Moore ends up in Oregon. Khalil Lockett, hey, he's not a lock to stay in the state of Texas either. So let's turn our attention to Jamie French. What are you hearing?
I like Texas going into another round of visits, but this is a recruitment that's had a lot of changes. A former Alabama commit, Ohio State led at one point. We like Texas going into the official visits. We think LSU has made a charge. We think Miami has made a charge. Expect them to visit all three again in July before making his final decision.
All right, another wide receiver that there's some smoke around is Caleb Cunningham. Could Caleb Cunningham, the 5-star wide receiver out of the state of Mississippi, be coming down to a decision soon?
Yeah, I think he's one of the next elite players to come off the board, and love the on-3 RPM in favor of Alabama right now. They took control of that recruitment during his official visit. He loved being around the staff, loves the way that Coach Jamarcus Shepard develops receivers, and loves Kalen DeBoer's track record. I think Alabama is the clear favorite. Wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the next in the fold for that staff.
Unbelievable summer for the Tide. All right, edge Bryce Davis. He's out of Greensboro, North Carolina, and there are some new RPMs rolling in. Tell me about it.
Yeah, Chad Simmons and I combining our intel, and we like Clemson now for Bryce Davis. Georgia was one that we thought led in the spring going into the summer, but that official visit to Clemson the weekend of May 31st, just the genuine authenticity of Dabo Swinney and how they treat their players and the families of the players really resonated with Bryce Davis and his family, and what they've been able to do historically around the line of scrimmage on defense is another thing that Clemson has excited the family about. I think Bryce Davis is going to end up playing for Clemson on the next level.
All right, guys, let me know. How do you guys feel about that 5-star intel? Let me know. Comment section below. So many guys coming off the board soon. Let us know what you're thinking.